The Perseus frontier was wide, quiet, and filled with long stretches of open land under two steady suns. Most of the planets there were calm and empty, with dusty plains that reached out farther than the eye could see. Travelers passed through sometimes, staying only long enough to refuel or trade before moving on again. One such place was Coyote Station, a small outpost that sat between several travel routes. It wasn't famous and it wasn't rich, but travelers knew it as a safe stop for food, repairs, and a moment of rest. Ayla arrived at this station very quietly. Her shuttle was small, shaped like a silver seed, and it landed with a tired hum. Anyone watching could see the machine had traveled far. The panels were scratched and the engines pulsed unevenly. When the door opened, a young woman stepped out. She looked calm and steady, even though the journey must have been long. Her hair was dark and tied back simply. Her clothing was practical, made from a strong fabric used for space travel and work. She moved with quiet confidence as though she did not need to prove anything to anyone. She introduced herself as Ayla of the starship fleet called Apache. The Apache fleet was known across certain parts of space for traveling with no fixed home. They were builders, designers, and metal workers who moved from star to star, offering their skills wherever they went. Their work was beautiful and careful. Their tools were shaped with patience. Their starships were old but cared for, holding stories of many journeys. However, because they stayed in no single place, many people found it hard to understand them. They were strangers everywhere, familiar nowhere. Ayla walked around the station with quiet purpose. She carried small tools in a pouch at her side, and she kept her eyes open, watching the way machines were built and repaired. She did not speak much. When she spoke, her voice was soft but clear. Some station workers nodded politely to her. A few asked where she came from. She answered, but the conversation always ended quickly. No one was unfriendly, but no one invited her in either. It was the kind of distance that came not from dislike, but simply from not knowing what to say. Days passed like this. Ayla worked on small repairs for the station in exchange for food and a place to sleep. She fixed wiring, tuned energy converters, and cleaned power cells. She was skilled, and everyone noticed. Yet still, people did not grow close to her. They didn't understand her traveling life. They assumed she would leave soon anyway. One evening, when the twin suns were beginning to set, the sky turned golden and soft. The wind moved gently across the red plains. Ayla sat outside the station's cantina, a small building where workers spent time after their long shifts. She sat alone at a small bench, looking toward the distant horizon. The sky stretched out endlessly. She had seen many skies in many places, yet none of them had ever felt like they belonged to her. She spoke aloud, but her voice was quiet, as if she didn't really expect anyone to hear. "No man wants me. No place has room. I travel, but I belong nowhere." She said the words with calmness, not sadness. It was not a complaint. It was a truth she had accepted or tried to accept. She was used to moving. She was used to leaving. She had never known another way. Someone heard her anyway. A voice responded, steady and calm. "That isn't true." Ayla turned her head. Standing near her was a man she had seen around the station before. He was tall and dressed in worn work clothes. His boots were old, covered in dust. His hands were strong and marked from labor, the kind you get from building things instead of just using machines. People called him Cole, though some playfully called him the Cowboy because he drove large transport haulers across the plains like others might ride animals. He had lived on the frontier for a long time, and he understood its silence. Cole didn't look at her with pity. His expression was thoughtful but not surprised. It was the kind of look someone gives when they recognize something familiar, something they have felt too. Ayla didn't speak immediately. She waited for him to explain his meaning. He didn't rush. "I have a ranch dome outside of here," he said, "a wide place under open sky. I work it mostly alone. It could use another pair of hands." His tone stayed plain and honest. "There's space there. A lot of it. If you'd like a place to be for a while." He didn't say she owed him anything. He didn't claim her. He didn't offer charity. He offered a choice freely. Ayla studied him. She had lived among many kinds of people. She was good at seeing what someone meant even if they didn't say it aloud. Cole's offer carried no hidden pressure. He simply wanted to share space, work, and quiet company. "Nothing more. Why ask me?" she said. Cole answered simply. "Because you deserve somewhere to rest." Everyone does. There was no dramatic moment. No sudden emotional shift. just stillness and understanding. Ayla nodded once. The next morning, she gathered her things, though there were few of them. She followed Cole to a vehicle used for traveling across the plains. It moved smoothly, gliding just above the ground, powered by quiet engines. The journey from the station to the ranch took some time. The plains were wide, with grasses that bent softly in the wind. The sun shone warmly, but the air held a gentle dryness that made breathing easy. The ranch dome came into view slowly. It was a round building with strong walls and clear sections on the roof that let sunlight in. Around it were fields of engineered grass designed to grow in frontier soil. There were power lines, solar panels, and wind turbines that turned with quiet grace. The place was simple, but it was not empty. It was full of work, purpose, and quiet life. Ayla stepped inside. The interior was neat and organized. There were tools arranged carefully on walls. There was a kitchen area, a sleeping area, and a comfortable space near a window that looked out over the plains. Her travel bag sat lightly in her hand. She didn't set it down. Not yet. Not so soon. She worked with Cole the next day and the next. They repaired water lines, checked solar panels, and tuned machines that supported daily living. They did not talk much while working. They did not need to. Their movements matched easily, as though they understood each other without many words. When they did talk, the conversation was gentle and calm. Ayla told small pieces of her life among the stars. Cole told small pieces of his life on the land. Each shared only as much as they wished. There was no pressure, only presence. Ayla noticed that Cole did not ask when she would leave. Cole noticed that Ayla never acted like a visitor. She did not watch work happen. She did work with full effort. The days began to settle into rhythm, like a quiet song. Ayla still kept her travel bag near the door. It was not because she wanted to leave. It was because she wasn't used to staying. The habit was old. It would take time to change, but for now she stayed, and that was enough. The mornings at the ranch dome were always quiet yet full of life. Sunlight streamed in through the roof panels, warming the floors and the small workstations scattered around. Ayla moved with confidence now, handling tools with a practiced hand. Cole had taught her a few things about frontier machines that she hadn't encountered in her travels, and she had taught him more than a few things about precision work from the Apache fleet. Together they created a rhythm that made the ranch feel alive, not just a place to live, but a place to grow. The first weeks were simple, but satisfying. Each morning they checked the water systems, ensuring the automated pumps ran smoothly. Ayla repaired small faults in the energy lines, adjusting them with the precision she had learned over years of traveling between stars. Cole worked alongside her, lifting panels, checking turbine blades, and cleaning solar collectors. They rarely spoke unless needed. Words were unnecessary when hands and eyes communicated so clearly. One day, a small drone flew overhead, buzzing softly as it inspected the fields. Ayla guided it to check irrigation channels that carried water across the engineered grass. She leaned over the control panel, eyes scanning the feed. Cole watched from the other side, quietly observing her focus. He did not interrupt. He knew better than to distract someone when they were in the middle of their work. Later, they paused for a brief lunch. Cole had prepared a simple meal, dried bread, protein cubes, and water, but he placed it neatly on a small table near the window. They ate in silence at first, enjoying the sunlight and the gentle hum of the energy systems around them. Ayla finally broke the quiet. "This place is different," she said. "Not like any station or ship I've been on." Cole smiled faintly. "It's quiet. You can hear yourself think. And work like this, it matters. Things you fix, things you make, they change life here. That's something most stations can't offer." Ayla nodded. She could feel the truth in his words. On the Apache fleet, they traveled constantly, building and fixing, but they never stayed. Work was temporary. Here it felt permanent. The results of her hands mattered. She could see them every day. And more than that, she could see herself as part of it. The afternoon brought unexpected visitors. A supply hauler rolled into the ranch carrying merchants and travelers from nearby settlements. Their vehicle was large and gleaming, a sign of distant worlds and busy routes. They stopped at the edge of the fields and stepped down, eyes widening as they looked around the ranch dome. They had expected nothing more than a few scattered buildings. Instead, they saw neat fields, solar collectors, and machines running with smooth efficiency. One of the merchants, a tall woman with bright eyes, approached Isla. "Who designed all this?" she asked, gesturing at the equipment, the irrigation channels, and the orderly fields. Isla hesitated, unsure how to answer. She had always been part of teams, part of fleets, moving among many hands that contributed equally. Her pride had always been quiet, internal. Cole stepped forward. "She did," he said simply. "Everything you see here, she designed, built, or fixed." The merchants looked at Isla differently then, not as a stranger, not as a visitor, but as someone skilled, capable, and necessary. They asked her questions about the systems. She answered each one with care, explaining what she had built, how she had tested it, and why she had chosen certain materials. The merchants listened with admiration. They had traveled far, but few people they met had knowledge so deep and practical. Isla felt a small sense of pride that had nothing to do with recognition and everything to do with respect earned honestly. When the visitors left, the ranch felt quieter than before. Isla stood near the edge of the fields, watching their vehicle disappear into the horizon. Cole came up behind her. He did not speak immediately. Instead, he waited, letting her thoughts settle. "You're needed here," he said finally. "Not just by me, but by this place, by the work. That's something not everyone finds." Isla turned to him, seeing his face in the warm light. There was no expectation in his eyes, no judgment. Just steady truth. She felt warmth in her chest, a feeling she had not felt in many years. It was not love, at least not yet. It was a sense of belonging, a feeling that she could build, contribute, and be accepted for who she was. Days turned into weeks. Isla became more comfortable moving through the ranch, checking systems, repairing machines, and improving designs. Cole continued to work beside her, sometimes teaching, sometimes learning. Their partnership was quiet but strong. Each task they completed together felt like a small victory, building something lasting from the dust and wind of the frontier. One evening, as the suns began to set, Isla finally moved her travel bag from the doorway and placed it on a shelf inside the home. She looked at it thoughtfully, remembering the days when it had been the only thing she could rely on. She had always traveled, always moved, always kept herself ready to leave. But now she felt a calm certainty. This was a place she could stay, a place where she could belong. Cole noticed, but he said nothing. He did not need to. The action spoke for itself. They watched the horizon together, the fields glowing in the fading sunlight. The wind carried the scent of warm earth and grass. The sounds of the energy systems humming softly reminded them that the world continued to move, steady and alive. Isla spoke softly, almost to herself, but loud enough for Cole to hear. "This place fits. I choose it." Cole nodded once, his eyes scanning the wide plains. No words were necessary. They had built something together, a place of work, trust, and quiet companionship. It was human strength at its best, the ability to create, to support, and to share. The nights at the ranch were peaceful. Stars filled the sky above, brighter than she had seen on most planets, unhindered by city lights. Isla stood outside sometimes, hands resting on the fence, watching the constellations. She thought of the Apache fleet, of distant worlds and quiet journeys. But she no longer felt lost. She had found a place to stay, a place to work, and a place to matter. Cole often joined her. They did not speak much, but their presence was enough. Words were secondary to understanding. Together they watched the stars, feeling the quiet power of living fully in one place. The days passed. Isla continued to improve the ranch systems. She designed new water channels that could store rain for dry periods. She built small drones that checked crops and equipment. Each improvement was practical yet creative, reflecting the skills she had learned across the stars. Cole supported her, often asking her opinion and never dismissing her ideas. He allowed her to lead projects and follow her instincts. The visitors returned occasionally, impressed by the improvements and asking questions. Each time Isla answered with confidence. Her skills were no longer a secret. She was recognized as someone capable, necessary, and respected, and yet she never let recognition change her. She remained quiet, careful, and humble, valuing her work and the trust of the people around her more than praise. Through it all, Isla learned an important truth. Belonging is not about being chosen by others. It is about creating something real, contributing, and being accepted for the effort you put in. She had learned that in the Apache fleet, but only in this quiet place did she feel it fully. The ranch dome under two suns became more than a home. It became a symbol of what humans could achieve. Not just survival in harsh conditions, but flourishing. It was a reminder that when humans combine skill, patience, and mutual respect, they can build something lasting. Ayla no longer spoke of being unwanted. She no longer doubted herself. She had found her place not through luck or chance, but through action, trust, and quiet courage. She had worked to make herself needed, and she had succeeded. One evening, as the horizon glowed orange and gold, Cole turned to her and said simply, "You're part of this place now. You've earned it." Ayla looked at him, and for the first time in many years she smiled freely. Not a smile of relief, not a smile of pride, but a smile of belonging. Humanity had traveled the stars, built fleets, and crossed frontiers. But its greatest achievement, she realized, was always simple: creating a place where one could matter, work, and be accepted. Ayla had found that place. She had found it with quiet determination, steady work, and a partnership built on trust. As the sun set and the stars appeared, the ranch dome glowed softly under their light. The fields, machines, and home hummed with quiet life. Ayla and Cole stood together looking toward the endless plains, feeling the strength of what humans could achieve when they chose to belong, to build and to trust one another, and in that moment, she knew she was home.